Juan Sebastián Elcano.
Primus circumdedistime.
The first circumnavigation in history. 1494. The Treaty of Tordesillas establishes a border that divides the world and resolves the dispute between the kingdoms of Portugal and Spain for the control of both the new territories and the economy through the spice trade. This would lead to new achievements: the discovery of new civilizations, part of the human family, the first steps toward a global economy, spreading the Catholic faith to new populations. 1517. Ferdinand Magellan, the great Portuguese sailor, angry with the King of Portugal, emigrates to Seville, gets the Spanish nationality, and swears loyalty to Charles V. He marries Beatriz Barbosa, daughter of a senior civilian officer. He makes a will in favor of his son, Rodrigo, born in Seville. He states that for his Portuguese relatives to inherit, should Rodrigo die without issue, they would have to settle down in Castile, change their family name into its Spanish version as he did, and carry his coat of arms. By doing so, he finally gets considered as a true Castilian. He then convinces Charles V that the Spice Islands are the rightful property of the Crown of Castile. They sign the capitulations in Valladolid, financing the expedition with Spanish capital. 5 vessels leave Seville despite the strong opposition of Portugal, which tries to boycott the expedition. After a series of setbacks and mutinies among the crew, Magellan manages to find the passage between the Atlantic and the Pacific, the Strait of Magellan, one of the main objectives of the capitulations. Thanks to exceptional weather conditions, they are able to navigate these rough waters, perhaps a sign of the divine providence. The journey proves extremely long. Without food or water, a new disease begins to threaten the expedition: scurvy. 19 men die. 30 others get sick. They are the first Europeans to contemplate the Philippines. The natives are offered the protection of the Crown of Castile and the possibility to embrace the Christian faith. By always sailing westward and reaching the Moluccas, the roundness of the earth is confirmed. In Cebu, as well as other islands, they are welcomed. But in Mactan they are not. They are faced with a harsh confrontation against more than 1,500 indigenous people. Magellan dies defending his men. The situation turns quite critical. Juan Sebastián Elcano finally takes over. At last they reach the Moluccas, the land where the precious spices grow. They acquire them by exchange or barter. This milestone will put the control of the spice trade into the hands of the Spaniards, and the lands are added to the empire of Charles V. Elcano decides to sail west to return back to Spain. He uses the Portuguese route in spite of the risk this decision entails. They flee from the Portuguese and stay away from their enclaves. It is the most dangerous route of the entire voyage, both because of natural phenomena and because of the need to avoid Portuguese waters. Elcano will be the first man to go around the earth. The Christian faith is present everywhere, through the prayers and the Eucharist. The expedition reaches the Cape of Good Hope with hardly any food or water. They are forced to stay for 9 weeks, enduring terrible storms and diseases. Another 21 men die. Elcano's desperation to see the near death of all his men out of scurvy and starvation makes him decide to take the risk and anchor in Cape Verde, a Portuguese territory. They are discovered when paying with spices and forced to hurriedly set sail to Spain. The ship Victoria, with 18 battered and famished sailors, arrives in Sanlúcar with a precious load of cloth that covers alone the whole cost of the expedition. In the words of Antonio Pigafetta, chronicler and one of the survivors of the expedition,
At last, when it pleased heaven on Saturday the 6th of September of the year 1522, we entered the Bay of Sanlúcar.
On arrival, Juan Sebastian Elcano writes a letter to Charles V.
Let it be known to your majesty that 18 men returned with only one of the ships that your majesty sent under the command of Captain Ferdinand Magellan, of glorious memory. Let it be known to your majesty that we have found camphor, cinnamon, and pearl. May your majesty deign to take into consideration the fact that we have gone all the way around the world, that having departed from the west, we have returned from the east.
The circumnavigation of Elcano, the result of a mercantile initiative sponsored by the Castilian crown, for the first time in history gave the cartographers, astronomers, and geographers of Europe an estimate of the dimensions of the Earth, confirmed the connection of the oceans, propelled the first globalization, opened new commercial routes, allowed to find new cultures, to discover unknown diseases, new fauna and flora, natural phenomena like St. Elmo's fire, and the Magellanic Clouds, and to announce to the unknown world the god of Logos, who makes myths and superstitions disappear. It was a hard journey and a dangerous navigation, which initiated by Magellan and completed with only the ship Victoria, achieved thanks to the expertise of Juan Sebastian Elcano and to the confidence placed in what is essential to complete the first circumnavigation of Earth in the history of humanity. To commemorate this great Spanish achievement, Charles V incorporated the motto Plus Ultra into the crown shield. It has been on our flag ever since.